A while back, I was gathering footage for a video I was working on and realized that I'm kinda sick of just replaying the same old FNaF games over and over for background footage. And I'm tired of reusing the same old footage every video. I feel like if you pay attention, you can actually memorize Bonnie's aggression patterns in my FNaF 1 footage. So I decided to play a new game, a fan game. The problem was finding the right one. Not a Candies game, it needed to be relevant to the main FNaF story. Not Fredbear's, that felt too serious. Maybe a joke game, or maybe a tycoon game. And I was lucky to be introduced to one by my friend David Barron. The name? Killer in Purple 2. Now I should specify, I have played this game in the past, usually for like 10 minutes before I shut it off because I couldn't get into it. But then David helped me understand the game more. Plus, between the last time I played the game and now, there has been a pretty big update. So starting this game felt basically brand new to me. And it occurred to me while playing, a lot of FNaF YouTubers have their game. The game you associate them with. UhYeah has Tyke & Sons Lumber Company, Pastra has Treasure Island and It Steals, Dags has Rainbow Friends and Doors, The Baddest has School Shootings, and David Barron has FNaF World and Slender the Arrival. So I want this game to be my version of that. I want to explain just how much and why I love Killer in Purple 2. So let's start with the story. Killer in Purple 2 follows the first game, the aptly titled Killer in Purple. I haven't played that game yet, but I do have plans after this video. This game starts with an explanation that the last game was actually a simulation that William Afton was in, so that he could enact his plans in the real world, which is this game. Which means, canonically speaking, in the Killer in Purple universe, this looks fake, and this is how the real world looks. That's hilarious. Once you spawn in, you pretty much have free reign to do as you please, but as you unlock more parts of the game, you begin to see bits and pieces of the FNaF story come to life. And then there's the ending, which is just so incredibly what the fuck, I can't help but love it. I didn't have much to say about the story, it's mostly just here to give William Afton purpose for doing everything he does. Although there are definitely some funny parts of the story. For example, in the post-game you can visit Scott Cawthon's house, and pilot a huge Scott Cawthon mech. Why? Don't ask questions you aren't prepared to hear the answers to. But I bring the story up because without it, this game feels kind of hollow. Giving William a reason to do what he does through a story at least provides some incentive to players to keep going. I won't spoil any of it for you, although honestly there's not much to spoil, but definitely pick this game up if you want to see the ending I said what the fuck to. Now for the real fun stuff. Gameplay. So Killer in Purple 2 is about 5% story and 95% everything else. I would say the game this is the most comparable to is Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator, as it takes on the form of a tycoon game where you want to make your Freddy's the best it can be. So let's talk your first day. Day 1 is going to start you with a pitiful budget and one room with nothing in it. From here, let your creativity blossom. The 2 rooms I would call mandatory from this point forward are your back room and your kitchen. The kitchen is where pizza will be made, and the back room is the area where you can kill kids. Because of course, that's a mechanic for profiting. Once you have some tables and chairs set up, you can start receiving customers. Adults will filter in and take a seat at a table where a timer will begin. You have to satisfy customers by getting them pizza from the kitchen. However, these adults will also bring with them children. If you can successfully get children to follow you into the back room, you can close the door and kill them. Once you slide them into a garbage chute, you can dispose of them later. However, if an adult receives their pizza before the kids they brought die, then the kids will leave with the adult. Your first day is going to be a balancing game between killing kids and feeding adults. However, by the end of it, you should be able to move on to the next step. For this next step, you're going to want to have an office, because now you start placing animatronics. By setting up a stage, you can place virtually any animatronic on it so long as they aren't from FNaF 4 or Pizza Sim, because those 2 games got skipped. What's interesting is actually seeing where certain animatronics can and cannot be placed. For instance, the Wizards can all be placed on the ground, meaning filling your backroom with them is pretty easy. Along with animatronics, there's a lot of decorations you can place, such as posters. I think 5 or 6 GT Live posters is enough for any major establishment. There's also arcade machines that have total recreations of the minigames from FNaF 2 and 3 on them. However, I won't be covering those until later since you can actually glitch them just like FNaF 3. So that's your day 1. Mostly cooking pizza, killing kids, placing GT Live posters, and getting your first Freddy installed. From here on out, your restaurant closes at 8 PM, giving you some time to further customize the building for the following day. Be aware that you can't make more money during this time frame, however, so be careful. However, there are other ways to make money. Hidden inside this tycoon is a fully fledged and fully customizable Five Nights at Freddy's game. Animatronics that you place in the pizzeria during the day will come to life at night and try to kill you. Now you may ask yourself, why would I ever spend the night then, or even have animatronics? Well, You can get paid bank by spending the night. It's always going to be your most reliable source of income in this game, especially later on. The simple goal of don't get caught is all you have to live by in order to win, but that might not be as easy as it sounds. My pizzeria has the FNaF 1 gang, the toys, the withered, shadows, etc. How do I possibly survive all of those? Well, there's a couple ways to do it. The first is what I'd call the Afton circuit. The way this works is you simply build a large ring in the back of the building to let animatronics chase you in. I would be really careful doing this on later nights when there's more animatronics and a lot faster ones, but since your sprint is endless, you should be able to easily outrun characters like Freddy or Fredbear. It's a reliable method if you want to skip out on Foxy. Then there's the method I use most often, what I'm calling plush walling. This one is way more foolproof. By simply placing 3 plushies arranged like so in whatever doorway connects the animatronics to you, you can ensure they never reach you. This method even allows you the ability to place down the puppet's music box and just crank the thing the whole night with no issue. So yeah, definitely if you want to just chill and watch animatronics literally push each other out of the way to get to you and fail miserably, this is definitely the way to do it. There is one more method that is a lot less reliable, but also probably the funniest, and something I wish I captured on recording more, but kinda failed at multiple times. But basically, if you don't want to shell out for the plush toys, and you're not confident in the Afton circuit, there's always backrooming. What do I mean by this? If an animatronic is at your door, close it, obviously, but then briefly open it and shut the door while they're in that small threshold. This will force the door to close on top of them and make them clip directly underneath the map, into what I can only assume is the backrooms. This means you don't have to deal with that animatronic for the rest of the night. The cost is high if you fail, but it's so funny when it does work. So with those 3 methods of defending yourself, you should be set for any challenge that comes your way. Now to make money. As I mentioned earlier, you have 3 methods of getting green. The first comes from actually serving customers, which will hilariously be your smallest revenue stream to a point where it becomes totally moot. In fact, with enough money you can fully automate this process and focus on other tasks, by hiring waiters and upgrading your kitchen to have a pizza engine which bakes faster. So with that out of the way, how about we upgrade our purple guy? Well, we can go into the back room and for $10,000 purchase our own Spring Bonnie suit. This is definitely going to be something you want to unlock as soon as possible, as it will be able to lure far more kids than just Willy on his own. Plus, it's pretty cool. With those 2 revenue streams maximized, you might find yourself with so many customers you're choking on them, so it's time to upgrade to a bigger space. And what the hell, listen to some music since the jukebox connects directly to a folder you can put your own songs in. I broke it and now it won't stop playing Don't Open the Door, which is probably better known as the Pastra song. Even this game thinks I'm a Pastra clone. So let's say you've been at this for a week or so, you've probably built up a humble little place with your own animatronic band. But have you ever gone outside? Alright, now what? No, I meant outside the restaurant. There's a whole world out there, and it's mostly trees. Jokes aside, there's a lot you can do outside the restaurant that will gradually unlock for you as you progress and earn more cash. Once you unlock the city, you'll be able to unlock Fredbear and Spring Bonnie, who will both earn you far more money than the FNaF 1 cast, so on and so forth. Visiting the FNaF 4 house is a thing, unfortunately playing in it is not, but you can also visit the sister location bunker and this is where you nab the fun times in Ennard. After this, Juniors is unlocked and for some reason this is where the FNaF 2 location is? Whatever, I'm sure it's in reference to a theory or something. A lot of this game is like that. You can tell Goldie Cinemas believes Afton is the yellow guy, since the route you take to get to Afton's house is similar to the route in Midnight Motorist. I have nothing against that being here, by the way, let me make that clear. I think it's a cool interpretation for this game. Inevitably, you're gonna end up earning a ton of money. Thousands of dollars, tens of thousands, and eventually hundreds. So I put bare 5 in my restaurant. Yeah, that $10,000 you technically unlock the ending of the game. In order to win, you now just need to unlock Afton Robotics, go inside the factory, and ascend this hatch. But when you unlock Afton Robotics, you also unlock a customizer to make your own animatronics. It's a really cool addition, although your creations will always cost more money than basically anything else in this game. So stock up on animatronics and wait out those night shifts, it's gonna be a long time coming. Or get paid $50,000 a night and get the new animatronic basically instantly. The only animatronics I've yet to unlock as of this writing are Golden Freddy and the Twisted ones. The Twisted ones I honestly just couldn't figure out how to make spawn, and in order to get Golden Freddy you need to have every single animatronic before him, so I'm still not done with this game. But before we move on to other pieces of discussion, I wanted to bring up 2 very specific hidden characters. The first spawns in when you first purchase this ball pit. From this point on, every night at 3 AM, Spring Bonnie from Into the Pit will spawn in. That's right, Pit Trap. the character I at one point said was my favorite animatronic in the series. Honestly, this Easter egg reinvigorates that opinion a little bit. Although he's definitely not my favorite anymore, I still really like this version of the character. He's also one of the hardest to keep out of the office if you're playing normally, so be careful and avoid spawning him in too quickly. The second hidden character is also the only character in the game with a genuine boss battle. Do you remember the arcades I mentioned? By glitching them all just like you would in FNaF 3 and beating the game, you can visit the scrapyard, circle around this back clearing, and finally see her lying on the ground. Eleanor, the main antagonist of the Fazbear Frights books. What you have to do now is very strange. You need to use the golden key you find at Scott Cawthon's manor to open the bank vault and place her inside. After this, she will grow to fucking kaiju size, and you will have to use a gold anim dude mech to fight her while she shoots lasers at you. After defeating her, you've unlocked her in the shop for $20,000, which is honestly pretty cheap for the prize if you ask me. It makes for a very funny, very out of nowhere final boss battle that really caps off how absurd this game is. And looking at it, it really is incredibly absurd. This William Afton is capable of placing almost every animatronic from the original series in one restaurant at the same time, and kill hundreds, if not thousands of kids. I'm out here making the MCI look like an accident. However, I do have my criticisms, so let's get into that. I decided to give criticisms its own section because while I do have a lot of them, most of these aren't really negatives per se, more so just me wishing more was done. So let's get this out of the way up front. Starting in this game can take 5 minutes or an hour. Since customers are brought to the pizzeria based on your star rating, I do think it would be better if your pizzeria starts out at a rating above 0, since the time it takes for customers to actually show up can be really inconsistent. That's just one thing though that actually bugs me. The rest of these criticisms are more so just me wanting to see things improved or changed slightly. For instance, I think that having the animatronics walk around is cool, but I do think there's a mechanic here that can be implemented to make the experience better. I think it would be cool if instead of dumping kids into the garbage, you had an alternative. If you stuff a kid into an animatronic, the payout would be instant and it would be higher. However, each kid you add to an animatronic would make them more aggressive during the night. One downside to the nights is that outside of there being more animatronics, the ones you have don't really get that much more difficult to handle. I think it would be cool if stuffing kids into the animatronics raised their aggression, maybe maxing out at a point. That encourages the player to get more invested in the animatronics themselves, while also increasing the payout for the kids. Then there's the FNaF 4 house. I actually am disappointed that there's no FNaF 4 animatronics in this game. I would love to see Nightmare Freddy or Plushtrap or someone. The map is here and it's pretty cool, but there's no nightmares to get here. On top of that, although Fruity Maze, Midnight Motors, and plenty of other FNaF 6 representation is here, there's no actual animatronics from that game. Look, I'm not the biggest fans of Scrap Baby or Ned Bear, but just having them as options would be incredible additions to this game. It just seems weird to me that the dev would think to include Ennard but not Molten Freddy, or Circus Baby but not Scrap Baby. And of course, there's no Help Wanted or Security Breach rep, which I can understand and wouldn't criticize, but the dev of this game actually went back to the first game to add Security Breach content there, including Burn Trap. Burn Trap is my guy, we go way back, so why can't he be here in this game? I also want to add this in here. As someone who has voice acted in fan games before, I don't want to critique the voice acting here all that badly, since I know my same criticisms could probably be thrown right back at me, but the ranges here are really wide. Various kids have voice actors, and William and Henry as well, and between all of these, William's voice actor Rexter did the best job. By like, a lot. You can tell he was super into the role and acting all crazy and whatnot. Although his voice was kinda jarring at first, I eventually got used to it and started to like it a little. But most of the others, there's some kind of issue. Whether it be volume, fuzziness, or the really weird choices to add like 5 layers of reverb into Henry's speech at the end so you can hardly tell what he's saying.
Everyone knows the story of Fazbear Frights, and William returning from the dead after I locked him away, and his grandson, Jim.
I think this game could definitely use some audio cleanup is all I'm saying. I will also say Elizabeth's voice actress is another really good one here, to a point where I thought her lines were ripped straight out of Sister Location until I heard her speaking sentences I hadn't heard from her before. Back to criticisms. There's one more thing I can really think to add, and that would be the ability to add multiple floors. One of the big problems with laying out the building here is that you only have so much space to work with, and I think adding multiple floors could rectify this, as well as in general making things more interesting. Maybe I want to add a basement to put the fun times in, or a top floor where I keep the toy animatronics. Something like that to help separate the scenery into a more pleasant layout. That's about all the big ones I can think of. There's some smaller things here and there. I think the helicopter is a little harder to control than I'd like, and the car actually feels like you're driving a tank. But all in all, this game is fairly well built. I can see only a handful of improvements that could easily make this game a whole lot better. And that brings us to the final part of the video. What are my overall takeaways? I really like this game. I think Killer in Purple 2 is an underrated gem of a fan game that blows most FNAF Tycoon games, hell, most Tycoon games I played in general, clean out of the water. It's fun, it's interesting, it has a charming art style, and switches from Tycoon to a traditional FNAF game far more smoothly than Pizza Simulator does. I think I'll just come out and say it, I think this game is more fun than Pizza Sim. Now, I hesitate on saying it's the better game, because deep down, I don't believe that. But I will say that it is far more fun to play than Pizza Sim, and definitely has a lot more content and stuff to do in it. At its best moments, Pizza Sim is tense and scary. At Kip 2's best, it's funny, charming, and extremely rewarding. So I would argue that this game at least does the Tycoon side of things better. Hell, that could very well be the reason Pizza Sim content was left out. Who the hell wants to buy Happy Frog when you could have Withered Bonnie? I am really hoping that the developer isn't done with this game, or this series. If Killer in Purple 3 ever happens, I'd love to see what new developments take place. Until then, I'm Demuted, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.